Hello again in this tutorial in Maya 2022. Basically in this course we're gonna see how to do renders. So we're gonna use Arnold render is native in Maya, but the rules I'm gonna apply are for every single renderer. So it's more to navigate in Maya, see how we apply shader, add some lights, and render a scene. So let's go. We have the scene called lipstick scene. I'm gonna put on the folder of the files. We're gonna create a plane, scale the plane, and it's gonna be what we call cyclo. So we're just gonna grab the last faces here, and we're gonna do something we never did before. It's called a soft selection. So you press B and you have this red and yellow with an orange transition on the faces. So you're gonna still on B and click on left click. So B and left click, and you can have this kind of stuff happening. So we're just gonna go to the half and translate all up our stuff, press E and rotate it like this, so we have a nice cyclo to work on. So we want as well to subdivide this to have something smoother, so we're gonna press mesh and I'm gonna do a subdivide. Is this here smooth? So smooth is for subdivide. So we have a smooth transition here to capture the lighting. So you're gonna call this a cyclo. For all the soft selection attribute, you press E on the select here, and you have soft selection here. And you can see enable, disable soft selection. You can see the fall off here, and normally the shortcut is B by default. So this is the cyclo, and it's gonna be useful for lighting. Now we're gonna turn off the grid because we don't model anymore. So here there is the grid on this here, and just remove it. Take the 3 item, press Ctrl G, or create a group on hierarchy, Ctrl G here, Ctrl G, so is for the grouping, and here we have a group with all the 3 mesh inside. So you're gonna move the group up and down here, and we're gonna make sure it's touching the ground. So just a subtle penetration on the ground like this, so it's touching the ground. We're gonna translate on the left, copy the group. So when you're on the group, you do Ctrl D, or in if I say in modify, duplicate in edit, so Ctrl D here, duplicate, and we're gonna translate on the right, and we're gonna just delete the top of the group, so we don't want the top geometry. So we have something like this. We're gonna call here lipstick 1 and lipstick 2. So those 2 groups are gonna be here. Now what we want to do is create a camera to target those 2 items the good way. So we're going to create, and we go into camera, and here we have a new camera created. We can move on it, and we can see how is it moving. So now we want to split this by 2. We're gonna use this one. Here on the left there is a side with a panel layout with a left and right, and basically we're gonna go in this window, press space, press panels, perspective, and camera 1. And now we are actually moving the camera from inside. So if you look on the viewport, here's the camera, and here you see we are moving the camera. So this is the way to play with the camera. This is on panel perspective and camera. Here we are in panel perspective and perspective. So we are here and we want to see what we are framing. So we want to have this kind of shape on the camera to see what we are aiming. And here on the left there is the film gate. So the film gate allows us to see exactly with the resolution gate what we're gonna shoot. So if we are here, we can see on the shoot the gate, then we have this 960 by 540, and we can go on this. So pay attention, the display render setting, it's very important. And here we are in Arnold renderer, and we want to put the preset of the image file. So we are in the command tab, we go scroll down and we have here the camera. So we want to renderable cameras, camera 1. Here you can see you have the format of the file, OXA is good. And we're gonna go into the presets and do a 1K square. And now you can see it's a proper square here, and we're gonna try to fit, so like you're moving in the viewport, this to have a good angle. You can remove the grid here from the viewport to see what's going to happen. So you can go left like this, just keep the square. So in the viewport you check here, everything good, the geometry is a bit inside, so there is a good connection with the ground. And now we want to apply some shader. So how are we gonna do that? We want on this black geometry to have a new material, and we're gonna go in Arnold and create a AE. Let me find a good one. A standard surface, and here we have a classic Arnold shader for the render. So we want this to be dark, so let's put black but not the last one, just before the 00, so this one, the 0.122. So this is a good value, and we want the specular to be very rough, so we want to see like a dot. And that's it for now. For this one, same, assign material, standard surface, but we want a whiter lead, so we're gonna go onto the gray here. That's it. And for the pink, same, assign material, Arnold, and let's go into the standard surface, but the pink color. Okay, down a bit the roughness, that's good. So now we have 3 material on those 3 objects duplicated. So you're gonna put the camera name as render cam, because we're gonna render from this camera. Now we have shaders. What we can do to have a quick look is to put this frame the eye here, so it's the render view, and we're gonna do here render the current frame. So as you see, there is nothing appearing because we have the geo inside. So if we take a look at let's see, because I just have to check. Okay, so what we want now is lights, because there is no lighting in the scene, there is nothing appearing on the render. So what we want to do is add some light. So we're gonna go in Arnold here, go on light, and create a physical area. Let's go for let's go for like area light. So area light is gonna create on the middle. Here we can use it like this, and if we look closely, we're gonna see there is a direction in one side, just to say the light is going from this area. So from here the light is gonna express like this. So we're gonna rotate this to point on our asset like this. We can scale this up, put it back, and we have intensity here, exposure, resolution and stuff. So we're just gonna go back in this view. So we click here, go on the channel here and press render, and now we can see nothing appearing right now. So this is because, let's see if I can do IPR render. Yes. So IPR is basically saying every time you do something on the scene, something gonna happen on this and update. So we're just gonna save the scene for the purpose of saving, and we're gonna increase the intensity of the light. And now we can see the IPR is launched from the backside. So we're gonna just put a very high intensity to exactly see what we are doing. So we can see here basically better. Let's put 3. So that's good, but we don't want from this view. So we're gonna go here and IP here. Let's do render cam here too. Cancel. Okay, so now it's just rendering from the perspective. Let's see if I can change this, because rendering from this one. Yes, so when you press render, you have to choose the camera you want to render with. So basically you put the render cam, and it's gonna render the image from the render cam. And you can see our lighting here on the right and our image here. So this is pretty much the same. What we want is we want to smooth this and this to have a good level of geometry. So what we want to do is on our node here, so select your piece of geometry, and here on the subdivision level, so it's on the attribute editor, you have top model and you have top mod, so the name of the model I put top mod, and the shape. So there is the model, the transform and the shape. So this is the proper mesh, and here you have the R node component, and you want to add a cut. So you want basically to subdivide the mesh during the process of the render. So you don't want to have this before after, so you want this to have during the render. So basically you go in R node here in the shape attribute, you go to cut clock, and you put 1 iteration, and you do the same with this one and this one. So now what's gonna happen is, like, if you look at this render and you press render again, you're gonna see it's gonna now subdivide the mesh during the process of the render. So on the side and on the viewport it's still normal and like at a low resolution model, but during the render you're gonna interaction one time. So it's like you press smooth or subdivide, and you can see now we have a very smooth geometry here, and is well better to work with. So we want to add more lighting because it's a bit dark. We're gonna go in So first we want to put this light a bit back to don't see the reflection. So after, this is something you can do later and play with the light, but now it's just to understand how to do this kind of lighting. We're gonna put the intensity to 400, and we want to have a light from the top, so we're gonna go light here and do a sky dome light. So the sky dome light, if I press render again, let's press here, is gonna be an overall lighting of the scene. So as you see now, everything become a bit flat and gray because basically there is a dome of light all over our scene. But we have the light here from the side here, so that's pretty good. So we're just gonna turn slightly down this down light, but this is actually a pretty good way to see your geometry at the beginning when you want to sort your lighting. So lighting is a really specific task you want to master when you walk. Here, and we do another render, so we're gonna have slightly darker with a bit more contrast and a lighting just to see the scene. So let's do a little recap. We have the geometry. We want to add some shader, so we right click on the shade on the geometry, and we add some Arnold geometry material. And from this material, we're gonna add a lighting. So let me put this here and this on the side, so we keep up the render. So what we did is we are here, and from each selection we add a material here. So we have the standard 2 for this, standard 1, and standard 3 for the color. So that's why it allows us to add this kind of color on the geometry. This is from the specular. The specular is the point here you see from the reflection, and you can control if it's more diffuse or less diffuse. So this is something we're gonna take a look more deeply later on the render section, on the look dev section, so we can play with shading, lighting and stuff. This is just to set up a scene for everyone. Renders. Come here, you have the light, so the light here on the side, we place the light and you can see the intensity, exposure and everything. And we have the dome light doing this circular dome of light, lighting everything smoothly. The render cam is placed on the front, and when we render, we can do render here, render cam, and here we have something based on the camera we position it. To position the cam, we have here, we do create camera, we create the camera, and from this, when we go in panels, perspective and camera one, we can move the camera, so we can see on this first camera how is it working. And maybe we want another angle, like we want the camera to be like this. And now when we are on the render view, when we render here, we can do render camera one, and you're gonna take another angle to render the camera. So basically this is the way to have multiple camera in your scene as well. And you see we have a slightly different angle from the new position. So this is one way to do shading, to have the overview. We're gonna spend more time in the shader itself, or work Arnold, and after in the future or work cycle in Blender. So we have an understanding of how work the material in the scene. Same for the lighting, we have different light we're gonna test on the next episode as well. And those lights gonna be an approach of how to do, why we use them, what their properties and what they're doing on the scene. So this is the overall for this quick introduction to shading and rendering based on the lipstick. And if you have any question, don't hesitate to ask me on the Discord. we can talk about the scene, and we can do a step-by-step process on this for you to understand how to arrive to this kind of result here. So thanks for watching, and